Your ego can either build you into something powerful or destroy everything you're trying to become. And the truth is, most people don't even realize which direction theirs is taking them. See, ego isn't just about pride or confidence. It's the voice inside your head that tells you who you think you are. And if that voice is telling you that you've already made it, that you don't need to learn, that you're better than the process, you've already lost. Because growth only happens when you're humble enough to admit you don't know everything and hungry enough to keep going anyway. A dangerous ego makes you comfortable, and comfort is where dreams go to die, but a powerful ego, that's different. That kind of ego wakes you up early, keeps you grinding late, and pushes you when your body wants to quit. It doesn't say, "I'm the best," without proof. It says, "I will become the best," and then puts in the work to back it up. That's the difference. You've got to ask yourself, is your ego protecting your excuses or fueling your evolution? Because a lot of people use ego as a shield. They don't try new things because they're afraid to look weak. They don't ask for help because they're scared to look small. They don't take risks because failure would hurt their image. But listen, that's not strength. That's fear wearing a mask. Real strength is being willing to start from zero, to be bad before you're good, to be a student before you're a master. Your ego should never be bigger than your willingness to grow. The moment you think you've arrived is the moment you stop progressing. And in this world, if you're not growing, you're falling behind, period. The people who win, the people who dominate, the people who rise above average, they're not the ones with the loudest ego, they're the ones with the most disciplined ego. They know when to be confident and when to be quiet, when to lead and when to learn. They don't let pride get in the way of progress. They don't let arrogance blind them to their weaknesses. Instead, they face those weaknesses head on and turn them into strengths. That's how you build something real. So if you want to become somebody, if you want to reach that next level, you've got to check your ego daily. Not once, not when it's convenient, every single day. Ask yourself, is my ego helping me grow, or is it holding me back? Because at the end of the day, your ego will define you. It will decide whether you stay stuck where you are or push forward into who you're meant to become. And the choice, that's on you. Ego without discipline is one of the most dangerous combinations you can carry, because it creates the illusion of greatness without the foundation to sustain it. You can walk into a room feeling like you're the best. You can talk like you've already achieved something. You can carry yourself with confidence, but if your habits don't match your words, your ego is nothing but noise, and noise doesn't build success, work does. The reality is, discipline is what gives your ego credibility. It's the early mornings when nobody's clapping. It's the late nights when nobody's watching. It's the repetition, the sacrifice, the grind that nobody wants to see. That's where real confidence is born, because when you've put in the work, your ego doesn't have to shout. It speaks through your results. But if you skip that process, if you try to jump straight to feeling important without earning it, your ego becomes fragile. The moment someone challenges you, you break. The moment things get hard, you fold. Why? Because there's no discipline holding you up. See, a lot of people love the idea of being great, but they hate the routine that comes with it. They want the recognition without the repetition, the success without the struggle, the spotlight without the sacrifice. And their ego feeds that lie, telling them they deserve more than they've worked for. But life doesn't reward what you think you deserve. It rewards what you consistently do. That's why discipline has to lead, not ego. Your ego should be the fire that pushes you, but discipline should be the structure that shapes you. Without discipline, ego turns into laziness dressed as confidence. It makes you believe you're doing enough when you're barely scratching the surface. It convinces you to skip the hard days, to avoid the uncomfortable moments, to take shortcuts instead of building real strength. But shortcuts don't create lasting success. They create temporary wins that collapse under pressure. When discipline is in control, though, everything changes. You start showing up even when you don't feel like it. You stop making excuses and start making progress. You hold yourself accountable even when nobody else does. And over time, that consistency builds something powerful, real confidence, real belief, real results. Then your ego transforms. It's no longer about proving something to others. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about knowing deep down that you've earned your position because you paid the price. That's the kind of ego that can't be shaken because it's rooted in action, not words. So you've got to be honest with yourself. Are you disciplined, or are you just pretending to be confident? Because one builds empires and the other builds illusions, and illusions don't last. If you want to become unstoppable, if you want to separate yourself from the average, you've got to bring your ego under control and put discipline in charge. Let your work speak louder than your words. Let your habits define your identity. Because at the end of the day, it's not what you say about yourself that matters. It's what you do consistently when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's uncomfortable. That's what defines you. Your ego is truly revealed when you face failure, because failure strips away the image you try to protect and exposes who you really are underneath. It's easy to feel confident when things are going right, when you're winning, when people are clapping for you, but the real test comes when you fall, when you lose, when everything you built seems to crumble. That's where your ego steps in and decides your next move. A weak ego will protect your pride at all costs. It will make excuses, shift blame, and tell you that it wasn't your fault. It will convince you that the system was against you, that people didn't understand you, that circumstances were unfair. And while all of that might feel good in the moment, it keeps you stuck. Because the moment you stop taking responsibility, you lose the power to change your situation. That's what a fragile ego does. It chooses comfort over growth, denial over truth. But a strong, disciplined ego reacts differently. It doesn't run from failure, it studies it. It looks at the loss and asks, what did I do wrong? Where can I improve? How do I come back stronger? That kind of ego doesn't see failure as the end, it sees it as feedback. It understands that every setback carries a lesson, and every lesson is a step closer to success. And let's be real, nobody becomes great without failing. Nobody. Every champion you admire, every successful person you look up to, they've all taken losses. The difference is they didn't let their ego turn those losses into excuses. They turned them into fuel. They used the pain, the embarrassment, the frustration as motivation to push harder, to train longer, to think smarter. That's what separates winners from everyone else. It's not that they don't fail, it's that they don't stay down. And that comes from controlling your ego in those critical moments. Because when failure hits, your ego will try to protect you from discomfort. It will tell you to quit, to walk away, to avoid trying again so you don't feel that pain twice. But if you listen to that voice, you lose. Growth lives on the other side of that discomfort. You've got to be willing to face it, to sit in it, to learn from it. You've got to be willing to admit I messed up without letting it destroy your confidence. That's the balance. A strong ego doesn't crumble under failure, but it also doesn't ignore it. It absorbs it, processes it, and uses it as a stepping stone. So the next time you fail, and you will, you've got a choice. You can let your ego protect your pride and keep you stuck, or you can let it drive your comeback. You can either stay the same or you can evolve. Because at the end of the day, failure isn't what defines you. How your ego responds to it is. Your ego is not something you need to destroy. It's something you need to control, because when it's mastered, it becomes one of the most powerful forces driving your success. A lot of people misunderstand ego. They think the goal is to eliminate it completely, to be humble to the point where they shrink themselves, doubt themselves, and play small. But that's not the answer. You need ego. You need that inner voice that tells you, I'm capable, I'm built for more, I refuse to settle. That belief is what pushes you to aim higher, to take risks, to step into spaces where you don't feel comfortable yet. Without ego, there's no fire. Without that fire, there's no drive. But here's the truth. When that ego goes unchecked, when it grows without limits or discipline, it starts to work against you instead of for you. It blinds you. It makes you think you're bigger than the process, bigger than the work, bigger than the people around you. And the moment your ego becomes bigger than your vision, you lose direction. You stop listening, you stop learning, and eventually you stop growing. That's why control is everything. A controlled ego is confident but still coachable. It's strong but still self-aware. It believes in itself but never stops improving. It understands that no matter how far you've come, there's always another level to reach. And that mindset keeps you grounded while still pushing you forward. Think about it. Every great individual balances these two forces, belief and humility. They walk into the room knowing they belong there, but they also stay open enough to learn from everyone in that room. They don't need to prove their worth through loud words or constant validation, because their work speaks for them. That's the difference between real confidence and ego-driven arrogance. One is quiet, focused, and consistent. The other is loud, insecure, and unstable, and here's where most people go wrong. They let their ego react instead of respond. Someone criticizes them, and their ego gets defensive. Someone succeeds, and their ego gets jealous. Something doesn't go their way, and their ego gets emotional, but when you learn to control it, you stop reacting and start responding with purpose. You take criticism as feedback, not as an attack. You see other people's success as inspiration, not competition. You face challenges with focus, not frustration. That's growth. That's maturity. That's power. Because now your ego is working for you, not against you. And when you reach that point, everything changes. You become more consistent, more disciplined, more focused. You stop wasting energy on proving yourself to others and start investing that energy into becoming better every single day. That's the goal, not to kill your ego, but to master it, to turn it into a tool instead of a weakness. Because at the end of the day, your ego will always be there. The only question is, are you in control of it, or is it in control of you?